Good morning. Nito, I've had students tell me they've watched me live during school back when I streamed in the daytime. It's 12 o'clock time slots. So it's only natural I start graduating to the people who are actually working during the Popcast. You'll learn more here than you will at school. Unless you don't. You can listen to this while you make dinner. It's literally what my wife does every single week. Idiots in chat come in here to become less idiotic. That's what we do. Hello, Epic Pikachu. Lacunosa, number 2. You're gonna need to calm it down there a little bit. Yes, brush, multitasking. It's an important skill to have. Pinky. ASMR Corner. I don't think what I do here classifies as ASMR. Could be wrong. Young Tofi. Young college graduate Tofi. Welcome, welcome. Yes, sir. For you, Tofu, the first tournament you ever played in with Destiny troops is documented right here. The Splatoon Amateur Circuit inaugural tourney. As you can see, we played a team called, it's hard to see with the light, but this team's name is called Splat or Survive. And we beat the dog crap out of those guys. They neither splatted us or survived. Seems a bit of a contradiction there. In this tournament, which took place on January 19th, 2019, we beat Tyrant Inc. 2-1, Splatter survived 3-0, lost to Splat Force 1-2. Ragnarok 3-0'd us big time. Dark Forces, we beat them 2-1. Beat Holy Crow 3-0. We qualified for, I believe, gold bracket. Day 2, we played Sons of Anarchy, lost to them 1-4. Played Tsunami, lost to them 1-4, and then we beat Yeehaw 4-1. Not a bad opening to the first ever SAC tournament that Destiny troops, then known as Split troops, actually played in. Not too shabby. We did do pretty good. came here because to become an idiot in chat. And nobody can take that from me. It's a badge of honor. General Storm. Are we, well, I'm not going to see you, but are you planning on going to more lands this year? Big House Riptide. So, you had like a GoPro there, didn't you, at LTC? Did you make some sort of video with that? Send out badge. People were complaining, or people, I should say, maybe one or two people were complaining about send out badges for some reason the other day. Just need to edit it. The biggest flaw to anything, having to edit it content-wise. You've completely lost me, techie. Chrome... I don't even know what Chromecast is. I'm assuming... I don't know what that means. That word is beyond my scope of understanding. Hold on. I gave Moose dinner already. All right. What happened? I don't think it actually started as bait. I think somebody just made a bad take, and then once they realized it was a bad take, it's a lot easier to just be like, "Oh, this is bait. I got you. I got you guys." Like, no. I don't. I think that's a cop-out for whenever somebody does something dumb. Just forewarning. If I ever say anything on the Popcast you guys disagree with, it's bait. But if you agree with it, then it's a good take. Just so you know. Well, there wasn't just one person. There was like multiple people I saw talking about it. It's like, it's a trophy. You earned it. You won it. You're allowed to be a little bit proud of it, even if it is virtual. See no harm in it. The friendship send-out badges are the new fist pump thing. Oh, really? Badges for their friends? I mean, that's... You're giving money to some... Those badges aren't free. Like, you're commissioning somebody to create those for you. If that's the case, so be it. You're giving money to an artist. That's good, right? Paying people to do things is good, right? Was this not? Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Popcast. Whenever you're listening to this, whether it be live or a VOD, Twitch or YouTube, or Spotify, while you are busy making forklifts and repoing moblin cars in Tears of the Kingdom, celebrating the additional color lock feature that's coming out in the next season, getting ready to clip yourself being fist bumped by Pro Chara for an easy 100 likes on Twitter. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen to this. Unless I don't. It is a rare Tuesday episode of the Popcast, and you guys are here watching it live, and all the lovely people that I actually like are watching it on YouTube, probably on Wednesday or some day afterwards. There was no episode on Monday because it was Memorial Day. Just took the weekend off. Obviously, it was at Low Tide City last 2 weekends ago. The Low Inc. and Out of Town last weekend. This was the first weekend I get to actually enjoy life without having to do anything Splatoon related. Literally just sat on my butt, played Tears of the Kingdom for most of the weekend, bike ride for other portions of it. Wife and I went out and played mini golf yesterday, went out to dinner. So that's how we celebrated our Memorial Day. Now, don't ask me who won the mini golf game between myself and Miss Popgun yesterday. I am not egotistical enough to brag about beating an 8-month pregnant woman in a game of mini golf. Unless I am. News of tournaments may be of interest to the casual listener of the podcast. Minnow Cup is this upcoming weekend. According to the community calendar, it is the Rainmaker edition of Minnow Cup. Next weekend is going to be Little Squid League along with SAC, and the weekend after that is going to be Low Inc. Yes, we just got done talking about Low Inc., and registration for that sucker is going to go live in 2 days from now. The grind don't stop as much as we would like it to. We just keep that Low Inc. train a-moving. So there is a skill cap tournament each of the next 3 weekends. If you are a fan of skill cap things and you like staying in your own little bubble, boy howdy, are you in a good situation here. Pick your poison with all these great events that are going on. Hope you enjoyed your weekend Popgun. Thank you, Triton. I did. I hope you enjoyed yours as well. Today, I have a wide assortment of things that I want to talk about. Usually, an episode of the Popcast revolves around one opening segment, which is just me ranting about something I saw on Twitter the week before. A weekly recap where we break down all the tournaments that took place the week before. And then one segment where we either talk to somebody, or I do another rant, or we do a tournament recap of some sort. Today, there are a bunch of different things that I want to talk about. So I have 4 opening rants that instead of taking the usual 30 to 35 minutes I do on those, let's try to break these down. Let's try to do 4 shorter segments, about 12 minutes each, on 4 different topics that we got going on today. So it's a complete smorgasbord, a grab bag Popcast episode, if you will, where we're going to cover briefly a lot of different things and then get out of here in time to take the dog on a WALK, and then maybe grab some dinner before we start watching some anime, because Tuesday is date night. And I don't want to spend the time talking to you idiots in chat all day long. I want to spend it hanging out with IRL folks who shared this house with me. So all that and more. But first, Sizzle season is upon us. In fact, I believe in the next 3 hours, you can download it and start playing all those new weapons and maps immediately. Unless I'm wrong about that. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when that goes live. Sizzle season, of course, not just in the game, but IRL as well. It is very hot outside. It has been hot the past couple of days. There's no sign of it letting up. And summer doesn't even technically start for another 25 days from now. This is still spring that we're in. It is going to be a hot, hot-ass summer. And eventually we're all going to die from it. So might as well just sit back and enjoy it while it's here. Of course, the Sizzle season, as far as Splatoon is concerned, is bringing in new weapons, new maps, and new emotes, a new catalog, a whole bunch of assortment of new things. Hopefully, the shoes that I wore in Splatoon 2, the Navy Imperials, are going to be used in this new season, so I can just use the same exact rip. Also, the pink hoodie hasn't been released yet either. Maybe they're saving that for the fall, the autumn season. I don't know. I would like to get that pink hoodie back. So I was a big fan of that thing when it was out. The things I focus on now is a TO. Now that I'm retired from playing this game competitively and I can just enjoy things a little bit more casually. The only thing I care about, I don't care about the weapons. I don't care about the color lock thing. I don't care about the emotes. I just care about the maps. The maps in Splatoon 3 as they stand right now suck. Suck a lot. And it's really difficult to come up with a map list that's somewhat acceptable from people in the community. People have been complaining about map lists since this game came out and are going to continue to do so until we can get enough maps to where things are somewhat calmed down a bit. My philosophy for the maps that I make the map list for Low Ink and Proving Grounds. My philosophy is this: smaller map pools. Proving Grounds, only 16 maps. Low Ink now, we've got it down to 20. You started off at 32. Slowly over time, we've whittled it down to 20, and you guys never noticed. But with smaller map pools, you can get away with it. Used to be, if you only had 60 maps, which was 4 maps per mode, people were starting to point out, oh, this is getting repetitive. We're just playing the same maps over and over again. Yes. The reason it felt repetitive is because we would use Mako Mart 3 different modes. We would use Art Academy across 3 different modes. You could use Hagglefish across 4 different modes if you wanted to. But when those same 3 maps kind of show up again and again and again, then it gets repetitive, even if you're playing Tower Control Clan Blitz, or Art Academy Clan Blitz and Art Academy Tower Control. 2 different modes, same map feels repetitive. So what I like to do with my map list, I never reuse a map twice. So no, you only get to use Hagglefish for 2 modes instead of 4. Makes things a little bit difficult though, because eventually you're going to get into a situation where it's like, okay, I'm going to have to plug in a crappy map somewhere in Rainmaker. Otherwise, I'm going to have to use one of these maps 3 different times. So now that Humpback is coming back, and we know that Humpback Rainmaker and Humpback Clan Blitz are acceptable for competitive. At least they were in Splatoon 2. That gives us a lot to work with. Automatically, Rainmaker and Clan Blitz, I got 1 map for it. If they don't change it. I sat here on this podcast and said the same exact thing when they announced that Manta was coming back, because Manta for Tower Control and Rainmaker in Splatoon 2 were fantastic. You could put those 2 modes into any map list. Nobody would complain about it. Well, they decided to make Rainmaker slightly crappier than what it was before by cutting down the route that you go on the left. So you basically pigeonholed to going in on the right or jumping off the pedestal to go to the left. Ugh! So hopefully they don't do anything drastically different for Rainmaker or Clan Blitz Humpback Pump Track. And those are 2 map modes we can put into any tournament today, and nobody will complain about it. And no, before you guys go on this tangent about Humpback Splat Zones, we're not using it in tournaments. No TO is dumb enough to use it in a tournament anymore. We kept it in tournaments for a long time. And my team realized, oh, we can just throw Booyah Bombs at the zone all the live long day, and there's nothing you can do to stop us. And then that's what a lot of teams did until everyone realized, oh, wait a minute. Missile spam on this map is even more broken than the Booyah Bomb on the zone. So no, you are not going to see Splat Zone's Humpback make a return. You still got played in solo queue. Sorry, but as far as competitive is concerned, I promise you this. You will never see Splat Zone's Humpback Pump Track in low ink, in Proving Grounds, and if it shows up in Super Jump, I will fight like hell to keep it out of there as well. That is a pop gun guarantee. The new map, I don't know. We like to do knee-jerk reactions when we see the new map pop up. Be like, oh, that isn't good for anything. Well, it might be good for Rainmaker. How can you tell? We're just seeing like one little circular overview, and then the Super Nintendo blaster fire at it a few times. It could be a horrible map. It could be good. Let's wait till we actually play it, which is so weird because we've had people come into the low ink help desk, and I believe the SAC help desk, and be like, when are you guys going to release the maps? Are the new maps going to be in the next tournament? Bro, they haven't even come out yet. What do you want us to do? Let us play it first. Let's get a good look at it. But I just need the new map to be good for tower control. I can come up with 4 really good Splat Zone maps in a tournament easily. But if we get another tower control one to go in with Humpback that's going to stay the same for Rainmaker and Clan Blitz, that opens up the door. Now, instead of using Hagglefish for one of those modes, I can move it back over to tower control or something like that. When you get more of these new maps that are viable for competitive, it frees up map lists across the board. It makes it a lot easier. It makes things less repetitive, and we can keep lowering it down. Eventually, we're going to get to the point to where there's only 3 maps per mode, 12 maps, but you only see one map show up at a time. You won't see you won't see Art Academy be repeated at all. Then you'll have 12 maps. It'll feel completely fresh. At the same time, though, you're not going to realize there's only 3 maps per mode, and you're not going to go back to think about when Low Ink used to have 8 maps per mode. Now, Low Ink's a little bit different because of counter pick rules. That's why we try to keep it a little bit bigger. So that you have a little bit more counter pick options, especially as maps get eliminated as the course goes on. Now, the patch dropped last night as well. Some interesting things came out. Bubbler, Cooler, and the Super Chump got buffed. No surprise, Super Chump is horrible. Possibly, as it is, the worst special ever to exist. As far as Splatoon 3 is concerned, maybe Splatoon 1, there were some really horrible ones. But Chump, raise your hand if you ever died to a Super Chump. And if you did, you are the true idiot in chat. But it got a buff with the paint, with the landing. The minimum damage that it explodes with is a little bit increased. It needs a lot more of those things. But I'm glad Super Chump at least got noticed, because it was just a completely horrible special all around. It needed some attention. Big Bubbler getting a huge buff. Cooler getting yet another. I believe they buffed Cooler 3 patches in a row. Also, Stamper getting a bit of a nerf here. But the biggest thing, the one thing everyone's drawing their attention to, and I'm not completely bought into this just yet, is the fact that Machine got nerfed. Essentially, the firing rate of the Machine got slowered to 5/60ths of a second, or frames per second, or something like that. I don't know. I have seen some clips floating around already of the old Machine versus what the new Machine's going to be, and it is pretty noticeable when you compare them side by side with each other. And the arcing shot, you're basically losing like 1 shot for every 5 shots or something like that. It is noticeable. It is going to be slower firing each shot as you're doing it consecutively. And it is going to have effect on some weapons, or at least the Machine going forward. That doesn't fix the problem of the Machine, though. It definitely hurts the Machine. The Machine is definitely going to be knocked down a peg, but that's not what the problem of the Machine is. For a couple of reasons. One, Machine counters wiper. That is I don't know why, but that is the one thing we've been hearing consistently from top level players. Machine counters wiper. And with Stamper getting a bit of a nerf and the wiper deco coming into play and everyone thinking that's going to be used widely, I'm not sold on that just yet. But as we see more wipers come into play, it's going to be more incentivized to use the machine. So that's one. And B, the biggest problem with machine, it still has Fizzy Bomb. It still has Booyah Bomb. It has a stupid good kit. The same thing with Vanilla Splash. Burst Bomb and Crab are stupid good for those weapons. And yes, Splash got a little bit of a nerf as well. I believe the paint that it's thrown down in front is slightly smaller. It doesn't matter. Yes, these weapons are slightly weaker, but I'm not on the board of saying that Machine is going to be dead yet. I think teams are going to need to take a little bit of time to get used to the new rhythm of the weapon. And I think some people are going to be thrown off. But I think as people get used to it, they're still going to use it. And that's what's so frustrating about the state of the game right now and why so many people are rightfully allowed to be pissed off that new weapons get kits that aren't really that good. Because at the end of the day, the two most popular used weapons in competitive just so happen to be the two weapons that have the best kits that you could possibly give out. And yes, I understand this notion of, well, I'm fine with Splash and Machine having these awesome kits. If everything else gets an awesome kit, let everything be broken. Let everything be super crazy strong. That would be cool, but that's not the case. You got two weapons that are really good, have really awesome kits, and a whole boatload of weapons that just have the most, what do you want me to do with this kit? And I know there's some people out there that believe every single weapon has its spot in the sun, and that's fine. The sky doesn't rain Oreos, though. Sometimes you have to come back down to reality and realize the biggest problem is the kits that these things have. I don't see Machine going anywhere. And I saw a lot of people tweeting out that it's dead. We'll see. We'll wait and see on that one. With anything, you need to wait and see. It's one thing for it to be on a sheet of paper telling you what the weapon's going to do. It's another thing to see it right in front of your face. And hey, remember at the end of last patch, everyone said Crab was dead. And look where we are now. Myself included. Tofu said his favorite anime this season. Between segment question. The anime I'm watching right now. We're watching the third season of Dr. Stone. That's the season we're going through. We're fine watching sub, but Dr. Stone needs to be watched on dub because so it makes you think. You got to kind of like catch up with what all they're saying. I don't want to be reading and thinking at the same time, but yeah, Dr. Stone's awesome. I didn't think I could limit myself to a 12-minute segment, but we knocked that one out. We're moving on. With a new patch coming out, means we need a new tournament to play them in. And what a perfect time for SAC to be coming back. Is this the 7th season of SAC? Not including season 0, the first ever season that took place on January of 2019 that my team played in. Was season 0, and now it's either 6 or 7. Somebody in chat can confirm. I'm assuming it's got to be 7 at this point. Where's the time gone? There's a new format with this upcoming SAC season. In the past, it was Swiss into Top Cut, which was divided in between Gold Bracket, Silver Bracket, and Bronze Bracket. The top 8 teams made Gold, next 8 made Silver, so on and so on, for a grand total of 24 teams qualifying to play outside of the Swiss stage. Regardless of if you played gold, silver, or bronze, you were eligible to win points based on where you finished in those specific brackets. The team that won the bronze brackets got less points than the team that just qualified for silver. And there was something to play for even if you weren't going to find a way to win the tournament. This time around, it's groups of 4, with the top 2 teams from each group moving on to the gold bracket, the bottom 2 teams from each group moving on to the silver bracket. The tournament, as it stands on Battlefy, caps at 64 teams, which means, in theory, if you do the math, the gold bracket, where it was 8 teams last season, could now be as big as 32 teams, as I almost did the math incorrectly. Top of my head there. Half the teams qualify for the gold bracket out of the group stage. So when you stop to think about that, as some people on Twitter pointed out, because there is a new rule now, the silver bracket no longer allows you to accept points. If you play in silver bracket, you're just playing for fun. You're playing for the thrill of meeting new teams and finding scrim partners and growing and getting stronger together. You're not playing for points anymore if you qualify for silver bracket. Whereas last season, you could play for bronze bracket and you could even qualify for points. When you stop and think about it, though, nothing's really changed as far as that's concerned. Yes, when you just say the narrative, wow, silver bracket doesn't make any points anymore to qualify for the final tournament, it does sound kind of shocking. But when you read the announcement, as everybody did when they first made the initial reaction, you start to realize, oh, wait a minute. All the teams that qualified for silver bracket last season are now just being thrown into gold bracket. Same thing with the bronze, and then 8 other teams that wouldn't even qualify anyways are now into gold bracket. The teams that are going to be making silver bracket this time around wouldn't have even become in a stone's throw of making bronze bracket the last time they were playing in SAC. So nothing's really changed other than the fact that gold bracket is now bigger. The feed into gold bracket takes less time. You're only playing 3 rounds instead of 5. And you are playing for more. More teams have an opportunity to win the tournament, rather than being knocked out very quickly due to Swiss opponent win percentage and having to play the number 1 seed in your Swiss group in round 2, because that's how Battlefy works. Now, I've been covering SAC tournaments for a long time. Back when Destiny Troops and Xanadu and Avalanche and On Crack and the Sea Boys were all scrapping it out back in early 2021. I've been talking about SAC for a long time. That was before SAC was a part of IPL. And now that SAC is a part of IPL, it is not lost on me that anytime I talk about SAC, it comes across as being a little bit biased. And I completely understand that. It's why I appreciate it when I listen to Gus's podcast. Whenever they talk about Low Ink or SAC or anything IPL related, it's more authentic because it doesn't have to come from a source of a guy who has the IPL sticker on the microphone right in front of your stupid faces. But let me just say this. I have 0 involvement in SAC. I am not asked to be involved in it, and I don't give unsolicited advice to anything IPL or otherwise related. There was one time they asked me if we could have a sit-down meeting to try to figure out a way to get more Low Ink teams involved into SAC. And my general synopsis was, if you are worried about getting more Low Ink teams into your SAC tournament, you're not paying attention to who your target audience is supposed to be. You shouldn't care at all about Low Ink teams playing in SAC. You should be caring about all the Low Ink band teams, because this is the tournament that should be designed for them. Other than that, I have 0 involvement. But just looking at last season and this season, I would assume this new format is a massive success. You guys complain nonstop, and rightfully so, about Swiss, because Swiss tournaments suck. And I say that full well knowing I run the biggest Swiss tournament known to mankind. But I've always said, as far as low ink is concerned, Swiss is a necessary evil. We have to do that because we can't seed all of these teams. We can't waste time building all of these groups in day one. We just need to put you guys into different Swiss groups, seed you roughly just so round one isn't a total whack show. Let you guys play all the way out and just let opponent win percentage divide you guys up. It's the best thing that you can do when you got over 1,000 players playing in your tournament at this point. SAC, in my opinion, and I've been vocal about this on the podcast before, there was no need for them to do Swiss. They're doing seeding for their teams anyway. Why not put them in groups, let it go quicker, put less RNG, take more control of your tournament, take some more Battlefy RNG out of it, and just let the teams play in the order that you think they should be playing in. And that's what they're doing right now. So I think this is going to be a massive success for them. Is there going to be pushback whenever something's different? Yeah, there always is. But I think when this tournament season is said and done, and again, if you think this is me being IPL biased, there's nothing I can do to change that. But just from an outside perspective of just seeing what's going on here, being a former player of SAC before they became a part of IPL, this is a tournament format I think people are going to like. And back in those old days, when they used to do spawning grounds in coast to coast, spawning ground was their Swiss tournament, coast to coast was their group tournament. People like the group tournaments a lot more. Now, they used start.gg and smash.gg at the time, and that screwed up a lot of the group things, and you would get like these crazy group of death, and then this baby Charmin soft group, and it's like, ugh. But now, under Battlefy, with this new format, I think teams are going to like this one a lot more than what they did with the Swiss one. If not, why were you guys always complaining about Swiss if that's the actual format you wanted all along? I hope this season goes well for SAC. We will be covering it here on the Popcast a lot more than what we were doing in the most past seasons as well. Also, one other thing to note, as some other people were pointing out, there is an Overlord tournament that's taking place the same weekend that SAC is going on. There's an Overlord tournament this weekend and one the next weekend. Guys, you do realize we can run skill cap tournaments at the same time that Nintendo is running the tournament. We don't need to ever be in this mindset of a community to where, oh, Nintendo's here for these 2 weeks. We just got to surrender those 2 weekends to them. Nah, that's not how this works anymore. If Nintendo doesn't give a crap about us, why should we care about the tournaments that they run? I think their tournaments are harmless. It's just a giant commercial that they're using you guys for. But if you're a skill cap team, isn't it nice to have options other than having to play ladder, turf war, where the tiebreaker is going to be jank, to where a low ink team that went 1-5 in low ink makes top cut, while a Div X caliber team doesn't even qualify for top cut, because that's just how ladder works. It just gives you whoever, and you can just choose to dodge them if you feel like it. And because the seeding for that is based off of the ladder, you guys who think you're something special can play Starburst in round one, and Sayonara and Starburst can play before they even get to the point to where they're being streamed. If that's what you guys would rather do, you have the option to do that. But for TOs to just completely surrender 2 weekends because the Overlords are coming down to run a commercialized tournament, that's not how this is going to work. Low ink, we couldn't care less if Nintendo's running. In fact, I am more than happy when Nintendo runs their tournament during low ink, because I get to tweet out how badly we're destroying them as far as registration is concerned. I get to laugh right at Nintendo's face. It is amazing. So no, what makes you guys think we have a problem? Not we IPL, but anybody related to the grassroots community has a problem running up against Nintendo. Couldn't care less. Early predictions for SAC. I don't even know who's eligible. I'll be honest with what is still +3. And I don't know, like a lot of the teams that could and should be playing in SAC don't, because they don't play in any tournaments because then they'll get exposed. So no, I don't have any early predictions because I don't know who's eligible or who would even sign up for this one. If Vera was, whatever team Vera's on is automatically going to make top 8. That much I know. The most experienced SAC player of all time at this point. That would be my early prediction. We're making good time here. We're now on the back sheet of the paper, which means it's now time for the weekly recap. SOS number 110 took place last Wednesday. Passion is the team that won it. It was made up of Zenith, Sleepy, Pony, Pelu, and Nicolo. Smoothie took second place, and 1-2 Buckle My Shoe. Get used to hearing that name today. They took third place. There was no official stream for SOS number 110. Instead, it was unofficially streamed by Genie, if you care to look at those matches. Technically, not technically streamed. Hammerhead bracket was won by Forelium. Mako bracket was won by Heaven's Reflection. And Lantern bracket was won by Scarlet Fizzy. Proving Grounds number 13 took place last Friday. It was won by Nightmare, who survived a bracket reset against 1-2 Buckle My Shoe. Trout Population took third place. Hey, nicely done to Trout Population. I don't know if anybody was worried that trouts were going extinct or something like that, but the chat seems to respond pretty well to Trout Population. Feedback is, when we get feedback for Proving Grounds, it is, vast majority of the time, it is do a double limb tournament instead of a single limb tournament, to which our response is, you're not the target market for our tournament anyways. We don't really care what you have to think about that. Go play in Squid Junction. They're a double limb tournament. We did get some interesting feedback for this one, though. The feedback we got was, thank you for not playing Splatoon music on stream. It was a nice, refreshing change of pace. Instead, we just play Super Nintendo music, and I feel like we're going to do that going forward. And it was just the last Proving Grounds. I was like, why are we always playing the Splatoon music? Are we like contractually obligated to do so in between games? Can we do something else? So we played Donkey Kong Country 2 Proving Grounds ago. We played Chrono Trigger this time. Maybe we'll do some Yoshi's Island at the next Proving Grounds. I don't know. But our days of doing Splatoon music, at least for Proving Grounds, is long gone. It's like, I'm tired of hearing it, and you guys are too. I'm glad we got some feedback from that. Squid Junction number 44 was won by Nightmare, the same team that won Proving Grounds the day before. I believe Comet Emote took second place, and 1-2 Buckle My Shoe rounds out your top 3. A lot of repeat names here. 1-2 Buckle My Shoe finished either third or second in 3 tournaments in a span of 4 days. Nicely done to them, but Nightmare wins 2 tournaments back to back. It was announced on Twitter that Havoc will be stepping down from the head TOing role for this tournament, Havoc being the founder of Squid Junction, carrying it to 44 appearances before deciding to step down as head TO. They did tweet out that they will still be TOing to some capacity, and I don't have a word on who the new head TO of Squid Junction is going to be. But still, congratulations to Havoc for making this tournament, and hopefully it continues on to some great things going forward. JPEG and myself did not create Low Inc. We inherited it. We won it. We played in it. So just because the founder steps away doesn't mean this tournament can't reach new heights with somebody else who has more time on their hands to kind of keep pushing it forward. And their first problem is figuring out how to make sure this tournament doesn't go 6 hours like it almost did last time. Man, you guys that think double limb tournaments are quicker than groups in the single limb, you have no idea what you're talking about. I promise you. Holy crap. The Smogden Starlight Tournament took place on Sunday. It was a gimmick tournament that had banned weapons in a weapon pool list that you could pick from and weapons you couldn't pick from. This tournament was hosted by Narval Carnival last Sunday. 77 teams competed in it. It was won by Cherry Limeade with the help of Hammer of Kingmaker. Rabid finished in second place, and Triggerfish Zone Supremacy rounds out your top three. Hey, a gimmick tournament with players that make up, that tend to go off meta with some things. Did really well at it. What a surprise with that. Narval Carnival is an organization focused on Latin American and global Splatoon monthly tournaments. They've been around for, I want to say, about a year now. Able to put on a fantastic tournament this past weekend. Nicely done to them. And that was your weekly recap. Sponsored by Chrono Trigger. Do yourself a favor. When you're done playing Tears of the Kingdom, get Chrono Trigger. It's not, I don't know how you can get it nowadays, but it is a fantastic Super Nintendo classic. JRPG, I believe is the technical term for it. Great action. It's turn-based, but it's also kind of not. It's got fantastic music. The story is phenomenal. The story is absolutely phenomenal. And it is a game you need to play at some point before you pass on to whatever realm awaits us at the end of this one. Chrono Trigger, the official sponsor of today's segment of the Weekly Recap. I got some good news for all of you big LAN fans in chat. After some speculation and some whispers at Low Tide City if Big House was even going to be a thing this year, Big House has confirmed that it is going to be returning this year, late October of 2023. And better yet, for you special people in chat who love playing Splatoon, Splatoon is going to be back at Big House for the second year in a row. A tournament for the Splatoon standard that Magic 8 Ball described as, quote, the highest competitive integrity, so it all comes down to good, clean Splatoon, end quote. Good, clean Splatoon. That's what we love. I hate it when you guys play bad, stinky, nasty, dirty Splatoon, which is what you guys tend to do from time to time. No, we like that good, clean Splatoon, and you can only get it at the Big House. Reading between the lines, what basically Magic is alluding to here is that this tournament should be considered the crown jewel of LAN tournaments for all things competitive Splatoon. I talked about Low Tide City being more of a social event with a tournament attached to it. Riptide, the same exact thing. But Shine, or not Shine, I wish Shine was still a thing. Big House. Big House is where it should be the top dogs going after each other, in what you should have some of the best matches and one of the best crowd reactions. That's where the tournament takes precedence over the actual social aspect, is what Big House should be for the Splatoon standard. There's a catch, though. With the announcement of the Big House came some rather disappointing news. It was also announced that there will not be a dedicated stream for the Splatoon side of things. It's possible that Top 8 could end up on some stream, but it might not be a stream you typically watch before. So basically, there's not going to be a stream for the best LAN in North America this year? Potentially not even for the Top 8? That sucks. That sucks so much. Now, what I love about this is the fact that they announced this right up front. Before you even sign up, we want you to know where we stand in the stream process for things. Now, this all could change going forward, but I appreciate the fact that Magic was transparent about this from the very beginning. It even went into the general chat of the Splatland server to kind of give a little bit more information behind the scenes as to why there's not going to be a stream and what kind of issues they have to face to come up with that. Basically, what Magic was alluding to is the fact that it's due to the lack of space in the venue, and probably more importantly, the budget issues that the whole Big House event is facing this time around. And let's be honest, and you guys have been in the lands, you should know this by now. Splatoon is expensive. Splatoon is very, very expensive to pull off. Again, I could play one game of Ultimate. I could host a tournament of Ultimate right on this monitor to my right. I could do that right now. To do a tournament, one single game of a Splatoon tournament at a LAN section, you need all of that, plus a whole lot more stuff, times 8, and a TM1 of some sort. That stuff's expensive to rent, to put together, to have all that extra equipment put out, because you're going to have a lot more equipment that breaks down or needs to be swapped out, or this was working 5 minutes ago, but now it's not working at all. How are we going to fix this kind of thing? So when it comes to budgetary concerns, if you're having an event that has budget concerns and you're even still allowing Splatoon to take part of it, that is a huge W for the Splatoon community, that you see that much value in Splatoon, that you're willing to invest a lot of money to make sure that it's still there. And maybe some of the success of the Low Tide City played into that. I'm not sure. I can tell you this. The people that run Low Tide City and Riptide are not the same people that run Big House. They're two completely different sets of people. But still, it doesn't mean that they don't look at each other and say, oh, you got a lot of people for Low Tide City. Maybe we should keep Splatoon despite some budget issues. Now, why are there being any kind of budget issues in what should be considered one of the biggest Smash, possibly one of the bigger Splatoon lands out there? Well, if you're at Low Tide City, you might have noticed we didn't do any of those cringe Papa John ad reads on stream. They didn't put a pepperoni pizza in front of one of our commentators that's a vegetarian or vegan and had to make them pretend like they were smelling something. Oh, this is some really good pizza. It brings back some memories. Or you didn't see any refrigerator up on the stage at Low Tide City with a Red Bull logo on it, stocked to the brim with Red Bull energy drinks that nobody is allowed to drink, because then the fridge is empty and they lose the sponsorship because nobody gets to see a fridge full of Red Bull. There's none of that at Low Tide City. You factor in the Panda Cup the Panda Cup fiasco, Nintendo's continuing crippling efforts against the Smash community, and you start to realize, okay, I'm starting to see why there's some, quote, budgetary issues, in quotes, going on with some of these Smash lands. And Smash as a whole appears, from our perspective, to be on a bit of a decline or facing a bit of a recession at this point. Doesn't mean it can't bounce back from it, but they're clearly dealing with more issues than they've been dealing with for a while. I'm not an expert on the issues in the Smash community. Whenever there is something related to Smash and Nintendo, I reach out to Magic to bring him on the show. At some point, there might be some other people that I want to bring on to get their perspective on things as well. So I don't want to sit here and talk about Smash's issues, because I'm not an expert in that. I don't exactly understand fully what's going on with the stuff that Smash has to deal with. I do know this, though. The success of Smash is directly tied into the success of Splatoon. We live or die with them. They are Big Brother. We need them to be successful. That's why when Nintendo is crippling the Smash scene, it's easy for us to say, well, they're giving us these tournaments every season. They're flying people out to Boston and Seattle. Like, they're taking care of the Splatoon scene. I don't see how Nintendo is doing a bad job for us. Yeah, you say that now, but you see how they treat Smash, and you see how that affects them. It has a trickle effect down on us. So even though we are the favorite child of Nintendo, we suffer with Smash when they have to deal with nonsense like that. And it sucks because we are hurting hard with this Big House losing the stream. This is the tournament that draws in the big dogs. Last time Big House took place, Sayonara, Starburst, Kyo, Leafy, Leotos pickup played in it. All played really competitive against each other, except Starburst kind of curb stomped everybody at the end. But those Sayonara, Kyo, Leafy pickup, those were some really great sets that were on stream. Really exciting stuff there. Keynote, those things were on stream. That's what made them so exciting. You at home, the highest viewed LAN tournament in a long time. Over 1,000 people are watching that on the BTS Smash 4 channel. A lot of people had eyeballs on Big House. For the Splatoon scene, at least. More so than what you were seeing at a Riptide and Low Tide City and Shine. Definitely more than what you saw at Shine. But that's just kind of a bad weekend for Shine to go up against things. And this sucks. If those same teams go back and we don't get a stream for that, that sucks so bad. Especially when you take into effect that there's no way to see it at all. Could you imagine a jackpot Starburst set? There's no LAN replay codes with that. There's capture cards, I guess technically can be used, but the setup for those things is insane. You're going to have to watch Starburst versus Jackpot being live streamed off of somebody's phone as about 70 people are huddled around their station trying to like lift up their phone enough to where you can get a slight visual of one player's point of view of what's going on there. That's how we're going to watch what could be a great set. And think about where Jackpot and Starburst could be 5 months from now. Starburst could have reclaimed the throne, could have said, yeah, Ink TV, that happened, but we're stronger than it. We're bouncing back. We're still the #1 team. Or at that point, Jackpot could have established themselves as not just the annoying little brother who could take games from them, but as the actual monster, the actual true #1 team in the West. That matchup at Big House, if Jackpot and Starburst were to play against each other, that could have huge implications for that rivalry between those two teams. Remember, Riptide, the first Riptide, that was the passing of the torch between not F2Win and Starburst. That's the first time where we saw Starburst as something. That was the beginning of the Starburst era. Imagine if that wasn't on stream. How different things would be. Yeah, you would just look at it, and the people that were there watching it would have stories to tell. But there's no VOD of it. There's nothing you can go back and look to. There's no like plays that you can break down. Oh, like this is the key play that Ant made on this Raymaker Humpback game with Silver Arrow Spray. That was the huge difference. If you take that away, it just becomes a set that was just played at a local, and it just loses so much value. So I hope things get worked out. And again, there's a lot that can change between now and the end of the next 5 months for when this tournament is going to be coming out. At that point, my son will have been born and will probably be getting close to crawling around the house at that point. That's we're a long ways away. So maybe eventually they'll get a stream, or maybe they'll find a way to where they can get the top 8 on a stream. They said if they do, they might not have commentators for it. Man, it just sucks. But regardless, I think it's still a good thing that Big House is still happening. The stream doesn't make the Big House. It enhances it dramatically, exponentially enhances a tournament, having a stream versus not having a stream. But I hope it works out for everybody involved. I would still, if we're not going to it because we're still going to be, still having a young child at that point, so we're not even considering it. But I hope everybody else still goes. I know Falco signed up frame 1 as he usually does. And Detroit as a city, absolutely lovely. Check out Buddy's Pizza. My pal Brandeska will take you guys there. Just Really fantastic pizza. Sign up for Big House. Hope they get a stream. Godspeed to the TOs. Pinky says, Havoc is one of the most dedicated TOs I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Well, there you go. To go back to Havoc, taking a tournament, and we see so many mom and pop tournaments that just kind of pop up, especially now. I watched the team play in one on Saturday. Those tournaments don't last. Squid Junction was a mom and pop tournament, and it grew from being that to being arguably, if not arguably, Dapple Productions' most successful tournament. Like you don't see that kind of growth. A new tournament now, you usually see an org or like this high level person with a lot of clout that will try to build a new tournament. You don't really see just new tournaments come out of nowhere. That's all dedication to Havoc. And I've said nothing but nice things about Squid Junction because they deserve it. Speaking of Starburst and Jackpot, they played this past weekend in the Splat World Championships. And if you're wondering what the Splat World Championships are, no, it's not the things the overlords put together. It is a tournament based around Japan time zone, which takes the 4 top teams from Japan and matches them up against the 2 top teams from North America, the 2 top teams from Europe. You got an 8-team tournament. The winner is declared the champion of the world. It's been going on for a while, and as far as the documented tournaments are on Challenge, there's been 4 tournaments. 3 last year, 1 this upcoming year. This is a time where we get to see if the West has actually closed the gap with Japan. It's a conversation we like to have, a topic we like to bring up whenever a team from Japan comes over to play in a major in the West, and they don't curb stomp. They lose some. Or the Kings get upset by Chewit's Mafia. Have we closed the gap? Are we as good as Japan now? So the Splat World Championships took place last weekend. There are 3 rounds: quarterfinals, semifinals, and grand finals. Quarterfinals are best of 3. Semis onward are best of 5. Starburst, Jackpot, Graveyard Shift, and Alliance Rogue were the 4 teams representing the West. Of those 4 teams, Starburst was the only one to make it out of the first round unscathed. Alliance Rogue, they took a game off of the team that eventually won the whole tournament, but they still lost 1-2. Jackpot and Graveyard Shift went down 0-2. Their day is done. In round 2, Starburst got swept 3-0 by the team that ended up winning the entire tournament. If that sounds depressing, this is actually par for the course. If you go on Challenge, type in Google Challenge Splat World Championships, you'll find the 4 brackets on that tournament that have been played over the past year and a half. They're usually not pretty for teams in the West. Here are the stats for the past 4 tournaments that have been played in the Splat World Championships. The teams in the West versus teams in Japan. Per set, the teams in the West have won 4 games, and the teams from Japan have won 14 sets. Per game. How do these matches go per game? The teams from the West have won 10 games. The teams from Japan have won 35. One team from each of the past 4 tournaments from the West has escaped the best of 3 round 1 stage. Their record in the round 2 stage is 0. They have yet to win a single set in round 2 in the best of 5 stage. Not only that, but their record per game in the round 2 best of 5 stage combined is 12 losses and the number of wins that they have combined, 1. They are 1-12 per games in round 2 of the Splat World Championships, the past 4 tournaments. In case you're curious, the one win was Starburst getting a win over Resistance in the spring tournament of last year. Resistance went on to win that season's World Championship, so the one win is still kind of impressive. But still, you're talking about in the past calendar year, nobody from the West has won a single game in round 2 of the Splat World Championships. Oh boy. That's a tough tournament. That is when you see names like Starburst and Jackpot and Alliance Rogue, and they can't even win one game in a best of 5 against these teams from Japan. That tells you what kind of monsters they're going up against here. Now this is a rough tournament. The format for it is not doing anybody any favors. The format being single elimination and round 1 being best of 3. That is insane. Playing the tournament and you can be done in 10 minutes in the Splat World Championship. If you're not ready to go, or if you're getting caught off guard by what your opponent throws at you, you have 0 time to make adjustments or 0 time to react, or you're already out of the tournament. That is hard. Round 1 being best of 3. Man, they are speedy with their tournament. And there's nothing that replicates that. Even Proving Grounds, which is a single elimination bi-weekly tournament, we don't even do best of 3 rounds. Now, we do best of 3 for teams beyond 32. Like if we have a round of 64 and there's like 3 or 4 teams that play in that round, we make that best of 3 because the teams playing in that aren't our target market anyway, so we're not really worried if they're upset about things. And we don't want them slowing down the tournaments for the teams that we actually want to sign up for this event. So we get that one out of the way to get to the best of 5. In the round 32 and beyond, we have that best of 5 because if you're single elim, you need to be able to have some opportunity to put up a fight in things. So yeah, that's rough. And there's nothing. Now, let's say, for the sake of argument, that I've completely lost my mind, which I thought I did when we moved Proving Grounds to a single limb tournament anyways. But if we were to make it best of 3 all the way through till you got to the top 4 teams, let's say that we did that. Would that help prepare the teams from the West if they were to sign up for that? I guess specifically the teams in North America, for these Splat World Championships. Now that they get more comfortable to those do or die best of 3 sets right from the start. No. As brutal as the format is, the format isn't the issue. To beat Japan, you have to play against Japan, which is why I found this narrative surrounding Ink TV of, oh, are we closing the gap with Japan because Starburst is getting better, but more importantly, Alliance Rogue is getting better. Jackpot's getting better. Graveyard Shift's starting to develop themselves here. Are we starting to grow as players to where we could close the gap? No. I don't ever understand why North America and Europe playing against each other has anything to do with how they stand up against Japan. And I absolutely roll my eyes whenever there is a major going on and we say, oh, we shouldn't let Japan play in these Western majors. Why not? Isn't the goal to try to improve so that we can eventually beat Japan? And by we, let's not kid ourselves here. By we're talking about Starburst, Jackpot, and Alliance Rogue. That's it. The only other 3 teams to represent that in the Splat World Championships in the past 4 ones was Graveyard Shift, Oro Jackson, and Ice Cube, none of which won a single game against the teams from Japan in the events that they played in. So when we say we're talking about the top 1% of the 1% of the 1% here. But we, the players that live out in the West, would love to see some more Western teams be more competitive in these Splat World Championships. In order for that to happen, we got to quit this nonsense of we need to find ways to ban Japan from the Western scene. No, they're trying to make connections to us. Before, the West teams, there were only 2 teams from the West that would be represented in these championships. Now there's 4. Half of the Splat World Championships are teams from the West. and the other half are from Japan. There's more inclusiveness in the West in these Splat World Championships now. In the past, we've seen a lot more of them coming to IPL and saying, hey, we want you guys to stream this event. We did a Proving Grounds qualifier to help determine who the teams that represent the Splat World Championship should be. ProChara streamed the most recent English cast of the championship this past weekend, exposing this tournament that a lot of us didn't really realize was going on to a whole new audience and putting it out there for a lot more people to consume and even see what's going on here. That's all being pushed from Japan to us. Why we would push back against that and not want to make the connection with them is beyond my comprehension. And I think most of that narrative is gone at this point. But that is the exciting thing about this event going forward, is that we are seeing more Japan teams playing this. And yeah, I don't care if Kyo forms this flip-a-floppa team with 3 other players from Japan and wins every Western tournament. To me, that says Kyo's done enough networking to where 3 players from Japan want to play with him. That's a good thing. Melon now being a part of +1. I'm not in +1 or never will be, but I'm sure that's had a positive impact on things as far as relations with the West and Japan are concerned. All these things are good, and we want to see more of that. That's going to help take all these top teams to the next level, to where their placement in the second round of the tournament, they can win more than 1 game in the past 4 tournaments. Exciting stuff. Congratulations to Chara for streaming it, and hopefully there's some more things to come with the Splat World Championship. They want to ban Japan, and then they expect to beat them somehow. Yeah. It's difficult to beat the it's one thing to beat the teams from Japan in a Western major, because in a Western major, that's Starburst's home court. Like, Starburst gets to play them in the middle of Sunday, right around dinner time. Whereas Japan, as soon as they're done playing the tournament, they have to haul ass to work or school or whatever because it's Monday morning. They still can't beat them then. So playing them on an actual Japan time slot like they did this past weekend must be even more insanely difficult. But the more Japan gets involved in our things, the better. So there we go. I just did an entire Popcast episode talking about a bunch of nonsense. And if there's ever an episode where I should put a timestamp on YouTube, it would be this one. If you'd like to be a part of the podcast anyway, feel free to reach out. My socials below: Twitter, Mr._Popgun, Discord, Popgun, #5882, YouTube at 25Popgun, Anchor.fm/Popgun. And since it is Tuesday, that means Falco Flyer is streaming, and I can do a very rare raid of Falco Flyer. Make sure you guys stay safe, get vaccinated, wear a mask when applicable, don't do anything dumb, and good luck to everyone playing in an Overlord tournament this weekend.